Tattoos, piercings, and the $1 million Armani suit, the hypnotizing aroma of the spicy perfume, and the single piece of jewelry in the ring finger, which equaled the amount of the exotic car parked behind Ryan. She was trapped. The man, more like a walking bank, stood on the other side of her, closer than needed. All she could inhale was the strong aroma of the intimidating man who was the reason she couldn't move from her place. His hands were on either side of her, on the car, and faced inches apart. Seems like you fail to recognize me, Mrs. Soon to be John. Flashback. Wine slammed her phone down against the table. Her neck was red with anger and frustration. The one beautiful day was ruined, and all she wanted was to return home and never step out of her room. She looked around, once at the sparkling stores, then at her guard, who was holding the bags she just shopped. She was getting married soon, so she came to do some shopping. She could bring her friends, but she wanted to give herself some time alone before she got married. She wished she could cancel the company of her guard as well, but her future husband was a mafia, and she was not allowed to go out without security. She was having a great day. Breakfast from a cafe. She bought a few bags and shoes and was headed towards the cosmetics stores when her phone started to ring. It was her friend's boyfriend, one dude she wanted to murder personally. He was cheating on her innocent friend, didn't know, and what worse was, he was cheating because of Ryan. All he wanted was to spend time with Ryan. Today he ended up proposing to her that he wanted to leave Sana and be with Ryan. Ryan told him she had a boyfriend, but he denied to accept. Since he spent most of the time in university with them and said that he never saw Ryan with someone, she was frustrated, feeling so guilty. How was she supposed to tell Sana about everything? But that was a later thing. The current problem was he was here, and Ryan had a hard time to escape from his vision. She didn't even inform her guard about anything. If the news reached her mafia fiancé, she had no idea how he was going to react. Is everything okay? Her guard, Louis, asked. Vine tried to maintain her expressions. Vine, yes, of course. I was thinking, can you bring me some Converse? I can't walk in heels anymore. Louis looked at the bags, placing them down beside Vine. Shall I take out the boots you just bought? He asked, and Vine clicked her tongue. Vine, they're heavy. I'm really tired. He debated. The shop was just around the corner. He could keep his eyes on her while getting them. Vine told him the size of her foot, and Louis excused himself. She instantly wrote down a note apologizing to him and ran away from there. She glared at the text screen that showed the messages of Sana's boyfriend, Drake, who was warning her to meet him, otherwise, he would just barge in her personal space. All she wanted was to escape the mall without getting seen by him, but fate was never on her side. When she heard someone calling out her name, and when she turned to look, it was Drake. Vine, stop following me. I'll call the security. She grit her teeth. She was regretting all the time she spent with him because of Sana. Drake, at least listen to me once. Is it too much to ask? Vine, I have a boyfriend for God's sake, and you have a girlfriend. What is wrong with you? Drake, I'm going to break up with her. Vine, good. You don't deserve her. But don't you dare come after me. I'm warning you. She turned to leave, but Drake held her wrist, stopping her again. Vine pulled her wrist out of his hold. Vine, my boyfriend is waiting for me, and I swear, if you don't stop following me around, you're going to get in trouble. She glared at him and marched out of there, storming towards the parking area. She was way too glad Louis was not around. This little scene could turn into something much bigger. Drake kept following her, however, Vine was quite reluctant on never talking to him again. Somehow, she started to tense up. She shouldn't have lied about her boyfriend waiting for her. She thought he might stop following her, but he was too shameless to do that. She had two options: either slap him so tightly he would be insulted at the spot, or respect her friend and let her take care of him. Out of her panic state, she rushed towards the first man she saw in the parking lot. Drake wasn't here yet, and she instantly got in the passenger seat of the car, whose owner was getting in the driver's seat as well. The man looked at her with a raised brow, but he got in the seat nevertheless, closing the door behind. Vine, I'm really sorry, but can you act like you know me for 5 minutes? I just need to escape someone. Maybe like my boyfriend. You don't have to do anything. Just please act like you came to pick me up. She said so quickly, without taking a breath in between. When he didn't respond, she wondered if it could get any more embarrassing. Vine, please, she whispered, and then her eyes fell on Drake, who entered the parking lot. The man stepped out of the car, and Vine panicked more, wondering if he was going to throw her out. God, that would be so embarrassing. But he instead marched towards Drake. She couldn't hear what was happening, but she swore she saw Drake's color turning pale the more they talked. Vine's eyes shifted to the unknown man whose back faced her. She saw Drake point to him as an apology before running off of there. She stepped down the car and the unknown man returned as well. She gulped. Not that the situation was under control, she could finally notice him properly. tattoos, piercings, and the $1 million Armani suit, the hypnotizing aroma of the spicy perfume and single piece of jewelry in the ring finger, which equaled the amount of the exotic car parked behind Wine. She was trapped. The man, more like a walking bank, stood on the other side of her, closer than needed. All she could inhale was the strong aroma of the intimidating man who was the reason she couldn't move from her place. His hands were on either side of her on the car and face inches apart. Seems like you failed to recognize me, Mrs. Soon to be John. Wine. What? She stuttered. Who are you? He smiled. He legit smiled. That hit her heart like the Cupid's arrow. Freaking handsome smile. It's amusing. Were you planning to see your husband on the wedding day? Wine. You're not. Or are you? Jungkook? He stayed quiet, yet everything about him screamed the answer was yes. He was like the devil, dangerous and destructive. Yet he seemed such a handsome man women would die to have. Jungkook, seems like you'll be creating a lot of trouble in the future by ditching my guards. Wine, I didn't want you to know. Can't believe I told you everything myself. She squealed and covered her face. Jungkook found her really amusing and adorable. Seems like he was going to enjoy her company. He moved off her and held open the car door for her. Wine took a seat and Jungkook got in driving seat. Wine, why were you here? Jungkook, I was around when Louis told me you dished him. Wine, are you saying he's going to inform you about everything I do now? Jungkook, not everything, but definitely when you do something stupid. Wine, it was not stupid. He raised a brow. Wine shut her mouth and Jungkook held her chin, leaning closer to her. Jungkook, putting your life in danger is an act worthy of being called stupid. Right. She forgot whom she was going to marry. His grip caught featherlight as he kissed her cheek gently before pulling back. Jungkook, you are beautiful, Mrs. John. She wasn't supposed to blush. She saw him for the first time, but his effect was too strong. Ryan, where are we going? Jungkook, dinner. Is that alright? She nodded and Jungkook drove off to the restaurant. The two had a dinner together, and Ryan had to admit she had a great time with him. First meeting, but it went much better than she had expected it to be. He had a strong and intimidating aura when dealing with others, but he treated her with smiles and gentleness, and for that she was really grateful. Currently, Jungkook and Wan were standing before Wan's home. He came to drop her off after the dinner. His hand was wrapped around hers, and she loved how it provided her so much warmth. Wan, thank you for today. Jungkook nodded, and what he did next almost took her breath away. He brought her hand to his lips, and while maintaining a very sinful eye contact, he placed a kiss on the back of it. Jungkook, have a sweet night, Mrs. John. I'll see you soon. She loved the day he always called her, with such authority, as if he wanted to brag about whom she belonged to. Wine. Good night, Jungkook. She kissed his cheek and gently pulled her hand back, going inside the home. The shopping bags were already dropped at home by Louis. Vine squealed when she entered in. She wondered if he could make her feel this way in one night. How amazing her whole life was going to be with him.